Alright, so I've got something a little different to talk about today. I was asked by Everything But Stromboli. They're a company that makes and sells all kinds of sorts of multimedia devices for storage. They asked me if I could review some of their brand new product. They're actually making their own SD cards now. So the other day they actually sent me some of their own memory cards, and you can see it came in this fancy packaging with the very nice EBS logo and of course their website on the bottom. Very cool. Maybe you should send me some of the stickers as well. And then they even gave me my own order number. As you can see there, it says order number RJ, that's me. They sent me 4 cards, 4 different sizes, 2 different speeds. The 4 sizes were 16, 32, 64, and 128 gigabytes. So the first speed with the 16 and the 32 is what they call Trek Shot. That is their Class 10 UHS 1 speed. So that's great for any kind of HD or full HD video. I tested it up to 4K, but I wouldn't really recommend it for that necessarily because they make the wonderful Azaire. I believe that's how you pronounce it, A-Z-A-I-R-E. And that is their UHS 3 Class 10. And what's really cool about them is instead of sending you an SD card and then you have to just go and get a micro SD card later, what they do is they sell you the micro SD card. As you can see there, that's the Azaire 128 gigabyte version that I tested, and they send you a micro SD, SDHC, SDXC card reader so that you can use, or adapter, excuse me, so that you can use the micro SD card in some of the bigger cameras, or and then connect them to your laptop that way, instead of having to deal with the the tiny little chip. But then you get the added benefit of being able to take this and put this into a GoPro or a drone, or even what I'm using with to record my microphone audio right now, into like an external audio source or anything that would operate a micro SD card like a phone or something like that. So they asked me to review the product, and I'm not sponsored by them in any way, although they did send me the cards. The cards that I currently use and have been using for quite a while now are the SanDisk Extreme Pro and Extreme Plus. So these are also these are both just Class 10 UHS 3, but they're also the V31 models of the cards, and so I have a 64 and a 128, and you can see I've used this one for quite a while because it's got the scraping up at the top there, from like just putting it in and out of the camera. I got this one fairly recently when I was using when I bought this camera, the X-T3. But I've been using these cards for a while. They work great, nothing to complain about. So I compared the Everything But Stromboli cards to the SanDisk cards, and this is kind of the information that I found out. So obviously the main and biggest difference is going to be the storage size, but that is of course how much you need in terms of storage space. So 16, 32, 64, and 128 are the storage sizes that I was sent, and I used a 64 and a 128 of the SanDisk models. The difference that I'm more interested in, however, is the speed of the cards themselves. So when I'm shooting in 4K at 200 megabits per second, which is what I'm doing right now, the card inside of the camera needs to be fast enough to write all of that data to the card at a time. When you're taking pictures, one of the biggest differences that you're going to notice is how many pictures you can take before the buffer on your camera fills up. But in terms of video, it's going to be how long can you film at that bitrate, if you can film at it at all. So what I did was I first tested out the SD cards, all of them in the Blackmagic speed test. And so you can kind of see here the different speeds of the read and write for the different models. The first thing that you're going to notice is that all of the numbers are relatively similar, except for the 64 gigabyte Azaire model is lower than the rest of them, and my assumption is that because the unit that I have is just not performing up to its best. Of course, that problem can always be resolved by the 1-year warranty that EBS offers on their website. But you'll notice the thing that I tested for was to see if there was a large gap between the different models, and there really isn't much of a gap in terms of speed. Only looking at the 128 gigabyte models of the Azaire and the SanDisk, the read speed is very, very similar, and the write speed for the Azaire is not that much less than the SanDisk model. So what I did next was I put them into the different devices that I have. So I put the 128 into the X-T3 that we're filming on right now. I put the 64 into my other camera, the Lumix G7, and then I put the 16 into the audio recorder, and then the 32 I put into the drone that I have and into a GoPro. And all of those devices performed fantastic at both 4K and at 1080p, to the point where I really wouldn't have noticed what the different type of card is. A lot of times when you buy a less expensive card or a cheaper card, it'll tell you up on the display, it'll be like, hey, you can't film in this resolution or at this bitrate. The only thing that I have to say about the Everything But Stromboli cards is that they wouldn't let me film at 4K at 400 megabytes per second, but then again, neither will the SanDisk card that I have. So really not that much of a difference between the two models. Ultimately, the thing that I did notice in the difference between the different models of the SD cards, even though the performance is nearly the same, really the biggest thing that I noticed was the price between the two different models. This particular SanDisk model that I have, I found it on Amazon for around 30 bucks, but then you can go over to the Everything But Stromboli website and find it for about 15. Now granted, this is of course when I'm filming this video in mid-October of 2019, so the prices may change by the time you're watching this video, but to be able to get the exact same performance out of two different cards, but pay significantly less, and then also the benefit of them giving you the micro SD card with the adapter is that you don't have to buy two SD cards, right? One for your nice camera, one for your drone or your GoPro. It's just a bundled package that the SanDisk doesn't offer you. That being said, I will continue to use the Everything But Stromboli cards in my devices from here on out. Not that I'll stop using the SanDisk, I'll certainly keep using them, but I definitely endorse the Everything But Stromboli cards, considering that they offer you the wonderful convenience as well as the same exact performance, but for a lower cost. Alright, thanks for tuning in. I think that pretty much about covers it up. I'll catch you in the next one.